Good evening, everyone. And if, like me, you haven't got the petrol to be somewhere else, welcome to the APAT show. It is Sunday night. Lee, we've got a very special guest in the studio. What can you tell us? Yeah, very special.
Yes, we have an APAT legend. It's
You're having to read this, aren't you?
Yeah, I just got to remember what it is John asked me to say about him. Which was actually that we would be allowed to actually put on air at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. It is the one and only John Murray. Everybody's favorite APAT casher and general all-round fantasy World Series of poker do-gooder. Welcome to the show.
Didn't read the rest of my email.
No.
Welcome on, John. Mr. Murray.
Thank you.
I'm not sure. Have you been on with us before during the audio years?
Oh, how can you forget? How quickly they forget.
I can't. Yes, we've done so many of them now.
It was probably I think it got nominated for Show of the Year or something like that. But, yeah.
Damn, I must have missed that one.
Wasn't that the one we won the Sony Award for? I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was the one. Yeah.
Sorry, the phony award.
Yeah.
I think that one's just slipped through unnoticed.
It happens.
But not like this one.
No, look, this is big, John. I'm expecting 5, 6, 7 people. And I will say to all of the people out there, if you haven't been able to watch us on Twitch previously, you'll now, tonight, also not be able to watch us on both Facebook and YouTube, right? Because we're going out on both of those channels as well. So plenty of opportunities to skip the show and have a good evening, particularly if you've got petrol. I think we're going to talk a lot about petrol tonight. I sense that. But pre-petrol gags, Lee, what poker are the guys playing tonight?
What poker are we playing? Yeah, it is week 29 of leaderboard ladders. We are getting close to that 30 mark. It is battle. It's a battle of the Ilfracombe Massive at the top of the table tonight, going into the final 4 events of the week. Yanni leads the way, closely followed by Tony Ross. So we'll see which one of those two ends up on top. But actually, we've got a little bit of competition. Artem Nikonov from Russia, Johan Shashtinger from Austria.
Sorry, Lee. Hold on. Whoa. Say that again. Johan
Shashtinger.
Okay.
Yeah. You happy with it? Yeah.
Carry on.
Brilliant. And Simone De Muro from Ireland. So they're all in the top 5 and vying for the tickets, or the double and triple tickets at the top, should I say. So 4 events tonight. And for the first time in ages, Des, normally I'm saying Deep Snack started at 5 o'clock. That's all done by 10. Actually, they're heads up at the moment. Wow. Ben Bundy from the UK is playing Stefan Reisenberger from Austria. And their heads up at the moment. That got 95 runners tonight. So $750 is the guarantee, $950 in the prize pool there, $250 up top. So they're currently playing out that heads up at the moment. The main event got 84 runners tonight. We just squeaked over the 2,500 guarantee, paying top 15. We're down to 9. We're on a final table of that. We're also on a final table of the PLO. chip leaders, one young Brendan Byrne, currently chip
Love
leader
him.
on that one. 7 players left in that. We're paying top 5 in that, so $1,000 in the prize pool for that one. And then the 9 o'clock turbo knockout. $500 is the guarantee. We always smash that. $720 in that prize pool tonight. 72 runners. We'll be paying top 11, so we'll keep an eye on that one later on, and obviously find out who's going to pick up those added tickets for the week.
Brilliant. Good stuff. Have you played anything, John? Are you in anything? Are you out of anything? Have you given up on Sunday night?
Anything. Would you like me to join something? Is it too late?
No, not at all. It's up to you, my friend.
Huh?
We're going to keep you busy anyway.
It's very too late for any APAT ones tonight, as the late reg in the turbo knockout finished about 10 minutes or 15 minutes ago. So,
but there's a $5,000 World Poker Tour event just starting. If you could just check into that one, we'd like to see the reactions hand by hand.
Yeah, do you need a token for that one, John?
If you wouldn't mind, yeah.
Yeah,
that's what you said you would do for coming on.
Yeah, I'll just sort it onto your account now. Just hold the line, caller. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So, John, how have you been? Come on, how have you been? We certainly haven't had a chat in a while. Hell of a lot's happened. You know, how have you got through the great sort of pandemic of 2020/21? Are we coming out of it, do you think?
Coming out of it? Well, I don't know about that. I've been fine. I won't say it hasn't affected me, but I've adapted to it. I think I didn't leave the house for the first 3 weeks, but then I worked from home for a little bit, but I've been working, going to work, and I've managed to swerve it so far. I haven't fallen foul of the virus. I seem to be knowing more and more people who have recently. Seems to be piling up, all the people. Yeah, I knew a couple of people before that, but in the last month or so, I know tons of people who've got it.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. Similar situation here. It feels like a lot of people have got it over the last few weeks, but thankfully not with too grave of consequences. I mean, you know, if you were telling the story of one of your mates who had it a year ago, it was done in hushed sort of tones, and it was all a bit, you know, serious. But it feels a little less serious, probably because of the jabs and all of that good stuff. So you've managed to
quite a few people who've got over it kind of recently, have come through it successfully. So
that
seems to be quite a thing. I mean, I've known a couple of people who've been knocked sideways by it, but they've recovered.
Yeah, and you've. It sounds like from a work point of view, you've been able to sort of get out of the house and continue sort of largely as normal, which is a good thing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I travel by train, and there's quite a difference between the early morning crowd and the late evening crowd coming home. You know, the morning crowd tend to be a lot more following the masking and all that, whereas you're coming home in the evening, there's everybody is on the train and all piled on, and there's very little going along with what you're supposed to do, and no enforcement.
Oh, no.
So
just pure relief at being able to go back to their homes. That's what I'm sensing there. So John, now it's all about petrol, right? Everything's about bloody petrol at the moment.
Yeah.
Really, John, what the hell has happened in the last week? It seems like we've gotten ourselves into a proper crisis. We discussed this very briefly last week. Didn't feel like anything too significant. Feels bloody significant now.
Is it really? What's significant?
It feels that way. It feels that way, yeah. I mean, I read a headline that 90% of stations are out of juice. And it's going to be 10 days to get it in.
It's only significant because the media have decided to spin it that way, and the general public are stupid. It's as simple as that, and believe it.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about.
What you've ended up with is people queuing at petrol stations for half an hour to stick a tenner's worth of fuel in their car. You know,
but that's what I'm talking about. The result, not the setup.
No. But that's the problem, and we've been here before with this kind of stuff. Whether it's panic buying during lockdown or whether it's the fuel crisis. I love it when they drop crisis in. It's like the fuel crisis of years gone by. The issue here is there's not an issue with the supply of fuel. There's fuel there. That's not the problem. The problem is actually the number of drivers available to actually get the fuel in. But what you've got to look at is what changed in the last week, because a month ago there was the same number of delivery drivers on the road, or a very worst case, let's say it's dropped by 10%, let's say 20%. Let's go crazy, in the last month. So what's all of a sudden created this? There's no fuel. Everyone's got to go out and get it. It's the media have decided to spin that, and whether it's the fuel companies or whatever else you want to throw in there, but it's just nonsense. And the trouble is the public have believed it, and it'll move on to the next thing. The next thing will be I think luckily I believe John Lewis have saved Christmas was the one the other week, I believe. Because they've hired some boats or something. It's just the whole thing's just complete and total nonsense. And you'd have thought by now the general public would, realize, okay, just take all this with a bit of a pinch of salt, but they don't, because everyone piles in. So you then end up with what we've seen in the last few days. But it gets fueled by everything. So we've got a number of groups around here. I'm sure you've got the same where you live, with these Facebook social groups and neighborhood things, whatever, and people are posting up pictures of this, that, and the other, and all that fuels it all as well. It's the supermarket, they're 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning and they're queuing back in the supermarket. I'll post that up on Facebook so everybody knows. It's the whole thing just snowballs from that. It's just nuts.
Yeah, but you can't do anything about that. What I'm interested in is the result of it all, because the reality is there are now queues at petrol stations and some are running out, and it's mad. Now, I feel somewhat fortunate in that I don't need to use my car. I can sit on the driveway. Sean is the same. Sit in the driveway, but don't need to use them, so we're not that freaked about it. But there are people on videos pushing their cars into petrol stations. What the hell is going on?
But again, it's tiny little things. It's not everybody doing that. It's very few people. I do feel for the people that genuinely need fuel to go about their day to day. But I would suggest 80% of the people that have gone to the petrol station across the weekend probably didn't need to.
Don't the public get a kind of painted badly though? I think, because they call it panic buying, but is it panic buying?
I think is that if we're in a situation that a lot of other people are buying up quickly on certain thing, so if you don't do it, then you won't have the stuff. You'll be left out. So from the individual's point of view, it's logical to go and get it. But isn't it that's quite a selfish? You go and get it if you need it, but if you don't need it and you're merely stocking up on a what if, or well, I better have some because if you work on that basis, it's a never-ending spiral, isn't it? Because you
might not need it today, but you might need it, before long.
I tell you guys, we've got a message in the chat box over on Twitch from one Frankie B, and he says there's plenty of petrol in Dublin. I think since the Troubles finished, there's plenty of petrol over there. Plenty of green diesel there as well. And Frank would know, he puts the old green diesel, the red diesel. He uses that in his bus. He used to use that in his bus.
This particular issue doesn't affect me because I don't.
You're training. But it's where, so okay, let's take this and I don't want to be the one whipping the APAT community into a frenzy tonight. Well, I do.
You are basically becoming part of the problem. That's what's happening.
I want to be the Nigel Farage of APAT. That's what I'm looking to be here. John, finally, where it gets interesting
is the truth is out.
There's been an APAT Nigel Farage sort of email going around, which is very interesting, or a group post going around, which is very interesting. Where it gets funny. Yeah. Well, at least I'm not sure if it was in the APAT group, but it was certainly within the community. what I think is interesting is where, for example, all of this panic buying, and we all agree it's absolute nonsense, it's crazy. But I feel for people who actually need petrol and their local petrol station is either out or full of queues, right? I feel for those people because that's the situation they're in. Where it gets interesting is when that starts to hit the Tesco's of this world, and maybe it will, maybe it won't, where maybe they struggle to keep their fleet on the road. Probably not a problem for Tesco, given the scale of their distribution operation, but smaller business keeping their products in stores and stuff like that, that could become a problem.
I found it interesting that things like ambulances and that have to queue up at petrol stations. I didn't know they went to the petrol station. I thought they had their own kind of place for loading up petrol. But apparently they go. Apparently they do have some, but plenty of others just go to the local pump, which I never knew.
Well, there you go, guys. We're going to be talking about petrol for the next week or two, I suspect.
My biggest concern for me, Des, is obviously.
Ooh,
I mean,
look at that.
We're very fortunate. Yeah, Jax versus Jax. Very obviously fortunate. I've got a car with happens to have a nearly full tank of fuel because I happened to fill up a couple of weeks ago.
Say that people know where you live, Lee. They know where you live.
But I've obviously got a big trip coming up this weekend.
Oh my God, you're off to Ilfracombe this weekend,
which is is probably what, a 5-hour round trip all in.
Well,
what do I do? What do I do, Des? What do I do?
I think you got to cancel it, Lee. You got to cancel it.
Do I cancel the Ilfracombe trip to save the fuel?
Yeah.
Or do I just blow it and go, no, it's Ilfracombe for 2 nights?
Yeah, but what if you can't get back, Lee? What if you're stuck in Ilfracombe for several months in a lockdown? Non-petrol scenario.
I think I've probably got enough fuel to do the trip there and back, but it will leave me short when I get back. I mean, but will I just
look at it at home, unable to get out?
Will I then, though, John, have the memories of 2 nights in Ilfracombe to see me through the winter months?
All that I'm saying here, Lee, is that I've seen Netflix documentaries with a thinner plot line than what you've just laid out there, right? You need to be aware of that, right? 1 minute you think you're comfortable, and then the next minute you're 15 miles short of hitting home, and there's a guy with a face mask trying to get into your car.
Here's the thing, you see. So the takeout that we're doing on Friday, we've all got it sorted. Tony's been brilliant, giving me the thumbs up. The Spice Lounge is the place to go to. However, we've spoken to the Spice Lounge, and before all of this fuel nonsense, they'd confirmed they don't do deliveries. So someone's got to go and collect. And of course, you're now going to have all of the group looking at each other. I don't want to use my fuel up to go and get the curry. I mean, what's going on here? Yeah, so
you're going to need the Ennio Morricone soundtrack to sort that out. In the flat.
It's going to get awkward, isn't it? It's going to get awkward.
I'll tell you what, Tony, one Mr. Tony, right? Good guy, Spice Tony, as we like to call him around here, is in the chat box. Think a lot of it was the new E10 petrol coming out. And so less of the cheaper stuff about. Yeah. So that
Tony's nailed it.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
Tony's absolutely nailed it. Yeah, with the whole E10, because you had to be careful because you're not can't use that for your lawnmowers and stuff. There's a lot of issue with garden equipment.
Well, listen, I don't know if it was a real video or not, but I saw a video on the line. Right, a couple of hours.
What was
ago.
on the internet?
It was on the line, right? It was on the internet.
It'll be real then. It'll 100%.
It looked real to me, and obviously, I got to have some content for the show. I couldn't put the video on the show because it was that bad. But it was a woman, right, with a carrier bag, and she was like she was filling half of it with petrol, and then she would tie. Seriously, she tied the carrier bag. It's on the side of the petrol pump, right? She tied the carrier bag. It's on the floor. She got another carrier bag out of her boot because the first carrier bag, it had a famous Tesco bag hole in it. There was petrol sloshing out of it.
Are you telling me she had a double bag of fuel?
She double bagged. She double bagged her 3 or 4 liters in a carrier bag. I mean, that's why they must put liters on the side of a carrier bag. But anyway, I must admit,
it's with all the fuel stuff that's gone on over the years. This does seem to have been the most craziest few days of just absolute nonsense. But the best bit was, I think it was Saturday morning on BBC Breakfast. Did you see the reporter? Have you seen this?
Oh, Phil McCann.
So they sent
superb.
Phil McCann to Stockport to do the news. I mean, does it get any better than that?
He's just trolling the country, the BBC, trolling the country with Phil
his
McCann.
Twitter account has gone through the roof with people following him since that. We've just got an Ace-5 versus Ace-Queen all in. It's the Ace-5 that's at risk, and that's not going to be good. We're going to lose Yanis in 8th place, so we're down to 7 now on this final table. And regular, I say a regular now. I said this last week. A regular APAT name that you'll recognise. Naz is back on the final table again. Des, 2 weeks on the bounce, quite impressive.
I think Naz is watching along with us on Facebook. So good luck tonight, Naz.
Naz kind of drops in for a while, for like a year or something. Then he disappears for a while. Then he comes back.
All right. That's all right. That's fine. We can deal with that. But listen, one thing that we can't deal with, John, right? And this is very much in your ball court now, is another fecked up year for the World Series of Poker. Last year was a bit of a disaster. They had a couple of main event winners, it seems. One online, one in a strange hybrid event. The World Series of Poker is back. It's going to be kicking off at the end of this month, which we're super excited about. It's going to go on for 2.5 months. But there's a lot of questions around field sizes and entry to the States and all sorts of stuff like that. Yeah. And of course, you and Carl run your World Series of Poker fantasy competition alongside it. We've done for quite some time now. So we want to talk about the comp. But let's start with the World Series of Poker itself. What can you tell us is the latest as far as what we should expect to see once the thing kicks off?
Well, I mean, the WSOP changed their stance, I think, during the summer. I think the latest is that players will have to wear masks when they're moving around, but not when they're actually playing. So once they sit at the table, they don't have to wear masks. They do have to be vaccinated, and that'll be. I believe there's an app or whatever so they can just check in once for US-based players. I think foreign players it's a little bit more complicated, but they have to be vaccinated to play, and that's obviously caused a storm because
it has.
A lot of players don't agree with that. Led by I think Alex Foxon and Kristen Bicknell have really gone to town on it.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, I sort of understand that everybody is free and should have an opinion and do what they want to do, but obviously if COVID breaks out at the World Series of Poker, it's going to be a disaster, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, apparently if somebody does get infected, they're now not going to be withdrawn from the event. There was a time when it seemed like people might get hauled out of the table, even from a final table or whatever. But now they've said that that's not going to happen. So so long as they're asymptomatic and they will have been shown to be vaccinated at the start, then they'll be allowed to carry on.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I hadn't realized that.
And even there's also something else weird is that the dealers don't have to be vaccinated, only the players.
It's a bit odd. It's a bit odd, mind you. In saying that, I went to a football match last weekend, which had 55,000 people there, and while in theory everybody had to be vaccinated, there were no temperature checks, there were no checks of any sort done going into the ground. So
it is outdoors, though. The football match.
It was outdoor, but of course people are extremely close to each other, and they are venting in a big way. So there must be tremendous coverage if you've got it. Spray must be huge, but yeah, it is what it is, I guess.
So John, what are they going to do? So if you turn up to play an event, you've proven that you're vaccinated. You're following all of the procedures about when you have to wear a mask, when you don't need to wear a mask. You're playing in an event. Let's say it's the main event. Let's say you put your $10,000 down. You're 3 or 4 days into that, and all of a sudden you're feeling a bit rough. So you decide to take a test, and you test positive. What do they say? What are they saying happens? That you can just carry on playing?
Apparently. Well, they say if you're asymptomatic. So I think if you're
showing symptoms,
I'm not sure what happens then.
Are they insisting? They're not insisting you have to take a test. So what you're going to end up is surely it's a situation where players, even if they've got symptoms, are going to go, "I'm not having a test."
Yeah, that's right.
Because I would say
volunteer the information.
But the other point is at what point do they? If they're saying you can carry on anyway, then what does it matter whether you're vaccinated, not vaccinated, or anything else? It's interesting. I saw what the IPO were planning on doing over in Dublin, where if you had symptoms, they were insisting on you take a test. If you tested positive, they would withdraw you from the tournament, but they would refund you the chip value of your chips.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, up to, I think it was a minimum of your. So if you had less, I think it was if you had less than your. If you had less than your starting stack or the starting stack, they'd give you your buy-in back. If you had more than the starting stack, they'd give you the percentage of what those chips were worth.
So I got that back.
Yeah.
How can they do that? Can they do that?
Because that's what they've agreed to put into the rules, that if you test positive, they wouldn't want you sat in the tournament. I'm really interested that if the World Series are quite happy to say, well, yes, even if you've tested positive but aren't showing symptoms, so that's okay. They'll let you carry on.
There's one thing that's clear: the World Series of Poker can't do anything that isn't acceptable to the Nevada health sort of authority, right? So ultimately, they are following the rules of the state, and I would find it incredibly odd for the for the state to allow people with COVID to just continue on in that tourney. Now, what they might be saying is your chips can stay in place. So, for example, if you have made it through to day 6 and you've got a decent stack, you're not going to be able to sit with it. But we can leave that stack in play for you if, rather than just withdraw
seriously,
it.
Des, who in their right mind would
say
pay £10,000?
I know.
$10,000, sorry, for a tournament where on day 1 you could all of a sudden start coughing, lose your sense of taste and smell and or whatever, and therefore have all the symptoms, and then turn around and go, "See you later. You're out of here." I mean, you just who would enter a tournament?
If you lose your taste and smell or whatever, who's going to tell them?
Well, but this is my point: is from a player point of view, you're surely going to sit there in absolute silence and just go, "No, I'm fine. Don't know what you're talking about." Which surely goes against what the expectation is, which is if you get symptoms or you test positive, you kind of not put your hand up, but you kind of go, okay, I need to do the right thing here, because all I'm going to do is spread this otherwise. Because even if you're sat in a room with a fully vaccinated room, if you've tested positive, you can still pass that on.
If somebody does, then probably loads are going to anyway, I suppose.
Yeah, well, you bet if you've got somebody in there that's tested positive or has got symptoms and has got COVID, and they're sat at the poker table, you're basically it becomes a not just a super spreader event, it's a super duper spreader event. It's just the whole room's going to get it.
It's super duper spreader on TV live. We'll be able to watch that. It'll be interesting. Listen, a couple of updates.
CBS this time.
But say that again, John.
They've
CBS,
moved.
That's right. CBS. But also, of course, a lot of coverage from PokerGo, whether is that via PokerGo? I assume it will be, through the thing. They're finalizing, or they're showing about 24 final tables that, as I understand, it'll be absolutely superb. Listen, a couple of things coming out of the chat box. First of all, Naz is there and listening. He says, I have to stay off the radar for obvious reasons. Well, I'm not sure what the obvious reasons are, but Naz isn't there, right? He's not there. We had one Mr. Fandango, who, of course, we know is your partner in crime for the Fantasy Comp, Carl. Says, evening, folks, evening to you, Carl. And Sir Fred 2018 says, no refunds. Right? No, so I'm not quite sure, but no refunds.
So no refunds. Yeah, so this is it's the whole thing feels like it's just waiting to explode, doesn't it, really?
The WSOP, did they bring out the last statement pretty much simultaneously, I think, with the state, the governor or whatever. It seemed like that they were having discussions behind the scenes and more or less agreed what the position was going to be. So they are very much in line with the state rules.
Yeah.
So would you play, John?
No.
So yeah, I mean, forget it says, say you lived in Vegas and say you had bankroll, would you choose to play World Series stuff?
Well, here I'm not playing here.
Yeah, okay.
That's fair enough. That's absolutely fair enough. So, John, what do you know, if anything, new about the whole geographical situation? So, for international players wanted to go and play, is that still as hairy as it was or seemed to be 3, 4, 5 weeks ago?
I mean, you probably know as much as me on that. And I know there's this announcement about US allowing UK and some other European players to go in from November, but they haven't said when exactly in November.
Yeah.
It seems
that sounded positive.
Early. So it'll still allow people to play half the series. Not early enough to pick those players for the fantasy team because they missed half the series. But they could certainly, people could still go and have a good series. It seems, depending on the day.
Do you get any? I mean, what is your excitement level for the schedule they've laid out, John? Has there been much change this year versus, where they were in 2019, for example? I mean, I know it's a big bulbous schedule. There's a lot of stuff going on. Is it a good one in your opinion?
I haven't looked through in that much detail.
Hey, I thought you were the lead dog in the fantasy comp. You got to know this stuff, right?
Yeah. What's new?
Oh, so I don't need the specifics, as it were. Yeah. You could get away with saying it's a nice broad schedule with a range of buy-ins, a range of formats, and it's going to run for about 2.5 months. Pretty good, Des.
That sounds good to me. Yeah,
I'll go with that.
What's your take, John, on obviously if we've got a situation where you could have an influx of overseas players hitting in November time? Does it feel it takes away a little bit from the World Series in general for those people that like, focusing on it and like to follow it? If it pretty much is going to be American players for the first half.
I don't think.
Do you know of any British or European pros that are doing this whole traveling over, spending 2 weeks in Canada or Mexico, and then hitting Vegas?
No, Carl is the man for that. That Carl likes to contact some of the players beforehand with a view to his fantasy team. He's regularly contacts the likes of some of the top British players and asks them,
Well, we've heard. I mean, we've had players on this show and other shows, and they've said they were planning on doing it. They just hadn't really worked out how or the way they were going to make it work at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, for a pro, they can get away with that, can't they? Tag another 2 weeks on prior to the series, go to Mexico or Canada, and then for a recreational player, it's nigh on impossible to do, isn't it?
That's right. So, I mean, there are a number of European players and British players who do really well there. So I guess some of them will be going, but I don't know which ones at this stage.
Yeah. Does it feel that it's possibly the best year to try and win a bracelet?
I think the fields will still be big. It's hard to know. I mean, there's a lot of people on the forums saying, "Oh, that they'll be in Vegas, American players, but that they're not going to play in the series, in principle. They're going to play in the Venetian or wherever else and play other things."
But what do they mean by in principle? Because of the rules that have been put in place? Or okay, right, okay.
Yes.
Well, what are the rules in those other card rooms? Because I assume all card rooms are going to have to adhere to the same sort of Nevada Health Commission rules, right? I'd have thought.
Yeah, but I think that there is more freedom for some reason in some of the other rooms.
Perhaps.
I mean, they're playing at the moment. There's been so many tournaments recently. There've been tons of them.
Yeah, it's a good point. Maybe Caesars have taken a particularly cautious approach because of the amount of publicity that's going to be on this event. So that's the World Series of Poker coming up, guys. So in terms of the competition, John, right, give us a lowdown. When did it start? How many players play? And what's the entry sort of process for this season?
Okay, it's pretty easy. We don't have any categories or anything like that. You pick 10 players who you think are likely to do well in the series, and that's pretty much it. We've gone high tech or whatever this year.
So you've got Google Forms.
Pardon me?
You've got Google Forms on the go.
Google Forms, yeah.
Super.
So people just pop their names in there rather than texting or messaging or whatever. So,
well, back in the day, we all used to write them down on the back of a postcard or a sealed down envelope, didn't we? And put them in the post to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Google Forms will sort it all out, and people can even go in and change their team, and it'll deal with that. You can go in afterwards and change your mind, and just go into your original one, just change it.
So John, on the forms thing, a big question, because always a concern for me. Does it matter if you spelt the name right?
It does. Not a lot, because over the years we've built up a bank of player names, because there are various formats, obviously, of people's names. Ben or Benjamin, and so on and so on. There's lots of different formats of people's names, and we've got the name format that the WSOP uses for virtually every player now. So if you use a different format, we'll probably track it, but it makes it a lot easier for. Sorry, we'll probably trap it, but it makes it a lot easier for us if you, get it right in the first place.
I mean, I know how this thing works. I mean, the time Party Poker went through a whole thing of validating a lot of accounts, and it was adding middle names to people's real names on Party. I mean, it completely screwed up our database in the background when that sort of thing happens. It's
and he actually changed its format of a couple of players' names a couple of years ago, and so that it didn't even stick with the one official format of people's names.
Bloody nightmare. I see Carl's in the chat box. He's saying Sam Razavi is in Mexico. Stu Rutter is going in November. Now, I'd heard Sam mention something about Mexico on Facebook, but I'm surprised we haven't heard a lot more from British players about sort of saying, I'm going, or here's my plan, or I'm on my way. I've heard very little of that. No, I wouldn't necessarily, but I am connected with a few people on Twitter and stuff, so I'd have expected to have heard more of it. I have to say, I love the World Series of Poker, that 2.5 month period. But when I'm looking at those results, I nearly always look for the British flags and stuff. So I'm not quite sure how it'll impact my enjoyment. I mean, if I'm seeing Helmuts and Negranus and people like that, players I recognize, I'm still going to enjoy it. But if large fields are made up of, day twos are made up of people I've never heard of, they're not even British or Irish players, then that's, that makes it difficult to follow. It becomes less engaging, I guess.
You probably will have heard of most of the players anyway. I mean, Americans win most of the bracelets and have most of the cashes anyway. Americans, they won 55 bracelets like last time, and they had like virtually 70% of the cashes, so it doesn't really... the others not being there, you could almost have nobody else, and it would still be a great series. But the thing is, some of the Americans won't turn up either.
Yeah. Some other insight from Carl. He said Stephen Chidwick is playing a full schedule, as is Benny Glazer. But you'll have to do your own homework on the rest. So if you're looking for that bit of engagement, right, maybe it's not going to be full of British and Irish players, but certainly, taking an involvement in the competition. £10 entry, John, if I'm not mistaken.
£10, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to add engagement, right? So there's going to be every reason to be checking, what the score is at the end of day one, how many players have got through, whether any of your players have got through in each individual event, so on and so forth. And of course, John and Carl put a lot of work and effort into updating results and just keeping that, engaging flow of content coming. So, John, it kicks off at the end of this month. When is the closing date for entry to the comp?
It kicks off on Thursday.
Thursday. Christ.
We tend. I don't want to. If you just keep this to yourself, we tend to allow people to enter even after it has started, but I don't really want to advertise that too much, so don't tell anybody that. But
how many events in, John? I can see a little plan forming in my head.
Well, the thing is, you're not getting points for the events that have already happened.
Ah, okay. Okay, better get in for Thursday then.
Yeah, get them in for Thursday, and then you get points for everything.
Well, I was just looking at Daniel Negreanu's Twitter because he posted up his potential schedule.
Yeah.
I think it would have been quicker for him to actually post the ones he wasn't going to play. To be perfectly honest, he's listed about 57 tournaments. Are there that many there, John? How many in total for this?
88.
This series? 88. So okay, yeah. So it would have been easier for him to post the ones he wasn't going to play. But basically, yes. Yeah, so I mean, should Daniel Negreanu be pretty much a shoe into everybody's 10? Is it very difficult to not put him in when he's the caliber of player he is and playing that volume that he's planning on playing?
It's very difficult to win this without having players like Negreanu or Sean Deeb. Now, in the past, it used to be Helmuth and Negreanu, and people used to put in Matiso and so on. But yeah, I mean, Sean Deeb and Negreanu are get so many points. And have this kind of competition between themselves that it's very difficult to win it without having them. I often think that we should either say you can't have them or make it like the Desert Island Disc and say, right, we'll give you Negreanu and Deeb and Helmuth, whatever. So you got to pick the other players. Yeah, but
that's a good point. Any of the golden oldies likely to do well, John? So. The likes of Deeb and Negreanu, although they've been around for quite a long time, aren't necessarily golden oldies. They still feel like modern players, but the Mizrachis and the Chris Fergusons and people like that. Any of those guys in form are likely to do anything? Do you think?
Ferguson was player of the series.
He was, yeah, a ton of cashes.
Yeah, and he the last time he wasn't player of the series. He only had three final tables, but he had about 15 cashes, I think. So yeah, I mean he's definitely going to be worth having. He'll definitely have a lot of cashes, and he may. I'm not sure. I think he won 2 events the second last time when he was player of the series. Might be wrong on that, but he's made a big, great comeback, really. Whatever else has gone on, he's certainly worth it. Some of the other older players, I mean, people like Mike Gorodinsky, Alan Kessler, Mike Lee, they're all Carl's favorite players. He loves to put these players in because they play loads of events, and if Carl builds up the points like 1 point at a time because they get cashes and not get to the final. Well, in fairness, Gorodinsky does get final tables and can win, but the others will get about 25 min cashes. So they get 25 points one at a time. For it all helps, but.
So it sounds like death by 1,000 cuts kind of thing. Is that Carl's approach to his
It is. Some of the players he has are like that.
It's even worse, Lee. It's victory by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
It's like it feels like winning a fantasy football league whereby you've just picked 11 players that play every single game, so they get appearance points. Yeah, and they don't actually do anything else, but that's it. They do play every single game, so you're guaranteed a set number of points every single season.
There's a few players who've been around for a few years. That I think a good way is to pick players who do really well, but not many other people are picking. And there's a few players like, say, John Reisner and John Manette, whoever you say it, who do well. They have their fair share of picks, but not that many. But there's players like I think a great pick would be Michael Adamo.
Yes. Who's been absolutely smashing the high rollers for a good while now.
I mean, he wins events. I think did he win the Australian?
Yeah, he's got the ability to close out in some high pressure situations.
He won 2 events in the Australian what you call the Aussie Millions last year. I think he won the main event a couple of years ago there. He's got I think he's got 2 bracelets. But recently, in the last couple of weeks, he went to this Poker Go or whatever series. They've been having loads of them all year, but they had this high roller one, which was 20 events. He turned up for the last 3 and won 2 of them, and ended up player of the series.
That's all right, isn't it? Will there be a late rush of interest on Adam Bromley Do you think? Will he find his way into many people's teams on the back of his performance in Leeds today?
I think Philip Hugh, I don't know how you say it, Huey is another one who finishes really high. He won the Players' Championship last time, and he said afterwards that he's not as good as somebody else, but that's not true. He's got a couple of bracelets. He got married to Luscious Lonnie during the year. Do you know Lonnie Harwood, who has her own?
Yeah.
But he's a top player. Lauren Klein has won. He's somebody should be on everybody's team. He's won a bracelet the last 4 times. He's the only player ever since the 70s that he won 4 years in a row. He's won a bracelet up to 2019.
Wow!
It hasn't happened twice. It happened in the 70s. Brunson and one of those others when they had to beat each other basically to win a bracelet. Whereas he's I think Lauren Klein's results are phenomenal.
So, John, there'll be some people out there that like to ensure they've got a couple of female players in their squad just to keep a nice bit of balance in their team. So, any female players you go? Obviously, the likes of Vanessa Cade have had an incredible year. Would she get a mention in squad?
Sure, I've got a player that's done really well called Linda Waniak. I don't know whether she'll be able to travel this year. But,
we like to call her our Linda.
Yeah, she's done
very well, hasn't she?
In the last couple of years. Actually, while I'm on the subject, so has her name won't come to me. We had an APAT player finish heads up in the women's event about 2 or 3 years ago. Oh God. I'll have to check it. Sorry.
It's all right. Chat'll sort it out for us.
Yeah,
we do that sort of thing. Des and I are proper down with the whole streaming Twitch thing now. We just say chat, sort it out for us. I've been watching a lot more.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot more streams on Twitch to understand, what works, John. And what I've realized is I need to I just need to start calling you both bro. Hey bro, yeah, bro, there we go, bro. So and that's apparently it works on Twitch. So you just ask chat will tell you.
Yeah,
that's not going to work around here.
Pilgrim's out there, he'll know the answer.
Yeah.
No. What he's actually saying is that once the stream has finished, Lee or I will go into chat and we'll type in the answer once we've Googled it. That's what'll happen. That's the way it works.
So an APAT player that got heads up in the WSOP. Wow, 3-way all in. Kings, Jackson, 9s.
Oh, sweet.
And Naz's Kings are going to be good, and he's going to bust 2 players, and he's going to be heads up with a 5-1 chip lead on Evan Horton from Canada. Evan just lost a huge hand earlier on and was I think was 4th in the chip stacks there, and has all of a sudden gone from 4th place money to 2nd place money thanks to a 3-way all in. That's huge. Wow.
So I think we have to call Naz Zan from here on in because he's not here apparently.
Okay.
So that's it, guys. So how do they enter? John, come on. And how do the guys get in? You've got a group, right?
Google's form. We can put the link somewhere. The link is
do it. Put it in one of the numerous chat boxes that we've got running this evening on Facebook.
Put it in.
Twitch.
Put it into chat.
Yeah,
Get it in there.
Drop it in.
There. Get it in there, bro.
Get it in there, bro. And
tell me,
and
Phil,
then our mods will remove it.
Yeah,
you're not allowed to put links in.
That's right. You won't get past the mods.
Mods.
What about Philly Hellmuth? Right, he's become cool now. He's winning a lot of heads-up cash games and stuff like that, online and live and what have you. Is he going to be the Magic Phil of old? Can he have a big series?
Who knows? I mean, he keeps coming back, doesn't he? And doing it again, and then people say, "Oh, he's finished," and then he comes back and does it again. And you can't say he wouldn't. I mean, when did he last win a bracelet?
Here we go.
Aces versus deuces.
It's ones against twos.
It is. It's done.
Wow.
It is done. Naz takes the win in that one, and I will move us to the PL because that's flown through. So we'll move to the PLO final table where they're three-handed with a young Brendan Byrne on this. So
fantastic. All right, guys. So John's going to put John is going to put the link to the form in the various chat boxes. He'll also put it. I mean, it is in the APAT Facebook group, but just bring it to the top, John. Put it in there again, and take part. The whole thing starts next Thursday. It's a tenner to get in. It'll add a lot of fun and a gleam to your World Series of Poker experience this year.
John, how can everybody pay you? Do you accept Bitcoin, or how does it work?
I'm not sure about Bitcoin. I mean, it might be a good thing to get some of. There is a link on the form to a PayPal. You just have to click it, and it'll take you right into where you pay. If you don't have PayPal, which one of the entrants already didn't have, who will remain nameless, Karen, you can pay us. You can pay us some other way. You can make a transfer to Carl.
Are you able to pay using PayPal, but just off a card, or do you need to have a PayPal account to be able to do it?
You need to have a PayPal. Well, I guess we've set it up from PayPal accounts. Okay. I'm sure you can pay.
Yeah. And obviously, one thing to say to anybody that's new that maybe might not know John. Or might not know Carl that wants to get involved and thinks, well, okay, this all sounds great, but I mean, I don't know these guys, and I'm just going to send them, £10 of my hard-earned, literally. But you don't need to worry because Des is going to ensure effectively all deposits made. So he's got it all ring fenced. You just saw it there. That was pretty much Des' ring fenced. Yeah, so won't be a problem at all. So but we can say that John and Carl are two of the most upstanding members of the APAT community since the beginning, and they will spend your money very wisely.
Can you say Carl is upstanding? Can you say Carl is upstanding? I'm not sure you can.
I think you can get away with that. That's fine. Yeah.
Like he's super trustworthy, if nothing else. Super trustworthy.
We're not just paying out the entry fees, but there's also some added value of some.
There's added value, John. Hang on. You seriously, you should have started with added value. Why have we just spent 20 minutes discussing this? We should have started with the added value. You'd have hooked them in straight away with added value.
Yeah.
Honestly, is there a guarantee, John? Is there a guarantee? They love a guarantee.
Oh, it's guaranteed to be a marvelous event. But we're sponsored by APAT, no less.
Yes, get in. We wouldn't have been providing this valuable airtime if we weren't somehow involved. And I have to say, Naz,
it's all good. I got the marketing budget request from Des a few weeks back. I must admit, I had to send it back to him and just get him to redo his justification. I just didn't feel it was appropriate.
It wasn't easy. Some
choice. Not only is there the added seats and so on, but there's also likely to be some lucky socks given out as well that Carl has obtained from somewhere.
I tell you,
I don't know what to say.
I do have a pair
again. I'm thinking this added value. You should have just started with the lucky socks. Why have we waited this long?
Listen, some choice comments coming in from the chat box. Naz says, "Sorry, John, upstanding." Simon says, "Looks like he's sitting down." There's a bit of that going on. Carl himself, top man, Carl says, "Linda Beaumont." Right, so he's saving you blushes there, John. Yeah. Linda Beaumont is the name.
Was it Lynn Beaumont you meant?
No,
it can't be Lynn.
It wasn't Lynn Beaumont. I think she did go very deep.
Lynn Beaumont. Yeah, it's not Lynn Beaumont.
No, she went deep, all right, and she made final table, but it was not her.
Are you talking about Debbie Roberts? Deborah Worley Roberts.
Debbie Worley Roberts. Yes, I am.
Yeah, there you go. See?
Yes, I am.
See? Des, right? I know a thing or two. And Naz saying, and he's got a good question here, is that the first repeat win Sunday? It's a good question. I don't think it is.
We have had back-to-back winners, but not in leaderboard ladders history. I don't think we have. So I think that is the first time we've done back-to-back Sundays. We've had a couple of double winners on a Sunday. I think didn't Scouse do a double win on a Sunday night, won 2 of the 4 tournaments, but
nonetheless,
I think that is first
impressive.
back-to-back. So, all that training with Mish has paid off, Naz. So well done. She's finally got you up to a decent standard of poker, and you've got a back-to-back win. Very well done.
It's nice.
We've also had back-to-back winners in our fantasy thing.
You've had a regular winner though, haven't you?
Yeah, there's one guy in particular who takes all the money. Talk about
it's
him.
gone back to back to back, and this year he's trying to go back to however many backs it is. Yeah,
too many backs, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Barry Cullen, right?
Yeah, we were gonna disqualify him because you know.
I mean, what is the sort of money for the top prize when you split it all out, John? Well, I mean, seriously, you get a lot of entries for this, don't you? So
last time we got 76 entries. It's gone up. We were getting like 27 or something, and we went to about 53 or something, and we would have liked. I don't know if the impetus has fallen away a little bit. I mean, we were hoping to go to 3 figures, last year, but it's probably, if we got the same as we got the last time, we'd be more than happy this time, I think, and push.
Bloody COVID, isn't it? COVID has just put a spanner in the works for a couple of years.
Yeah. So the substantial amounts for the first, we used to give prizes for the first 3, but last time we had so much money from the prizes that we give prizes for the first 5. So.
Oh my God! Is it too late?
It's certainly a 3-figure sum is being paid out to the winner. Yeah. So you're making people hundreds of pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're good at choosing these players and coaching them and
I tell you, whatever the value of the prize money, it still pales in comparison with the joy of seeing your players do well. Right? It's the one-upmanship. I think it's more about that.
The prestige.
Yeah.
And the significance, etc.
Yeah, that's it. Significant, etc. Quite right. We do that. We'll have your winner. I tell you what, we'll have your winner on here, John, at the end of the series. Touch wood, if we're still broadcasting this propaganda now, with this petrol propaganda. If we're still here, we will have your winner on. But John, you might need to come on occasionally yourself to give us updates as to how it's all going.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is quite exciting the way it changes. And I mean, Barry wasn't in the lead, say the last time out, halfway through or even 3/4, and then he just stormed through towards the end, and we thought, oh, here we go again. So the lead does change during. So yeah, we can keep you up to date with that.
How important is the main event in the scoring?
It hardly matters at all.
Really?
It's a fun event. It's got the same points as any other.
Okay.
And the chances of getting your players to the final table are, not high. So you might get, few people might get 1 or 2 points, but that, because they might get a cash, but it has very little effect.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair enough. So how are we doing on the poker? So we're at a break here, guys. We got a minute left.
Yeah, we're 5 to the hour. So let me just run through where we're up to. So I mentioned that the Sunday Deep Stack when we started the show was heads up, and it was Ben Bundy versus Stefan Reisenberger from Austria. Well, Stefan ended up taking the win there and picking up $250. Ben Bundy finishing second, picking up $160. So well done to those guys. Yeah, we just witnessed the No Limit Hold'em main event that finished. Naz picking up a back-to-back win, beating Evan Horton heads up with the aces versus the deuces there. But obviously the hand that really did it was the one that saw Paul Allen finishing 3rd and Stefan Stroflak finishing in 4th with the 3-way all in there. That Naz was good with his kings, really ran good at the end of that tournament, but very well done to him. PLO, that had 30 runners. We're down to 3 in that. We're watching that one at the moment. Big chip leader there in Stefan Hendricks from the Netherlands. David Durber from the UK, and Brendan Byrne from Ireland there. So we'll watch that one play down. And the Turbo Knockout started at 9 o'clock. 72 runners. We're down to 9 on that now. So they're in the money there. So as soon as this PLO finishes, we'll jump across to that and catch the end of that one.
Super busy first hour tonight, Lee. Do you know what I did during the week? I signed up to Apple TV, right? I'm a sucker. $4.99 a month. Another goddamn fiver going out of the house on TV. And I watched the whole first season of Ted Lasso.
Oh, the football thing.
Fantastic. Really enjoyed it, I have to say. Have you seen any? There is a free episode on Apple TV, so you can watch the first one. But it hooked me in. It was very smart marketing to allow.
Oh, I have all of Apple TV, you know, in the kind of the premium one, Apple One package where you get everything. So so it's all good. So I will add that to the list of things to watch when I've got some time. So. But this is the trouble with all this thing. You plan to watch, some TV or do whatever. And then I got this afternoon, what did I end up spending all of my time doing? Watching Adam Bromley on the final table of the GUKPT from Leeds. So that was pretty much my afternoon spent tracking him. He had a very good finish in the end, finished 4th for £18,000.
Absolutely stunning.
So for those that don't know, Adam is the husband of Natalie Bromley, who's a regular on the show, and you'll know from a lot of the APAT coverage we've done, plus some of the other shows as well. So Natalie was railing Adam on that final table. He had a shocker of a final table. He went into second in chips onto that final table, but just absolutely card dead. And anytime he got any premium, he either didn't get paid or just got the wrong side of it, and it was horrible. But he got 6-handed with the short stack and was right down to sort of 5-6 bigs at one point, but managed to ladder up a couple. And that ladder up from 6th to 4th is worth £10,000 in the end. So he went from 8,000 up to 18,000. So I think that's his biggest live cash ever. So thoroughly
well done.
Pleased for him. So that was really good. But yeah, that was sort of most of my it actually finished just before we came on air, actually. So wow. They were expecting that to be a late one, and then they're all off up to Edinburgh next weekend.
Listen, Jamie O'Connor was, I think, 4th in chips going in today. Did you see how he did?
Didn't make the final table. So
okay.
Yeah, so didn't make the final table in the end. So I don't know where he bust, but didn't make that.
Fair enough. It was good to see the GUKPTs back.
Yeah, and popular. It's interesting when you compare the GUKPT, John, to what they're doing with the World Series, because you watch that stream. There's no masks. It's as if it's like a normal tournament in the UK. But interestingly, the recent one at Coventry, Natalie caught COVID from it. So I don't know, is it a case of do you just take your chances? I mean, do you feel the urge to want to get back into a casino, whether it be one of your local ones or to go and play a tour at the moment, or are you still feeling it's not quite the right time?
No, it's not for me at the moment. I don't feel I just don't want to play at the moment. I'm not going. The pub poker has started here locally, but I haven't been to it. I haven't been to a casino, and I can't see me going to one this year.
What would need to change, Sean, for you to say, right, I want to go back playing, or is it just that actually the whole lockdown thing has changed your overall view on playing poker? I mean, is it
no. I want to go back playing poker, but I just feel it's too soon.
Okay.
Yeah, I suppose there's some of the things change. I mean, I know that in the local pub that there are no restrictions at all. Everybody's just playing on top of each other to do what you like, and I think it's mad. So what would need to change for you to then say, okay, I'm feeling comfortable? Is it around more people getting vaccinated, or them putting more things in place, or less people catching it so the numbers drop? What would make you feel comfortable to go, okay, probably all of that. I think more time really to pass for all of those things to happen. So I'm not saying I won't play this year. If it all starts dropping away and a lot of people get vaccinated, because there's still, a minority, but still a substantial number of people who are not vaccinated and not intending to, and that they're going to these events, and you know, I don't want to be with them.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. That makes a lot of sense. So I suppose if there were events whereby the rules are quite clear about you being vaccinated and you know and they're following, you know, they've got strong guidelines, then that might be, you know, worth doing. We've had this discussion on the show in the past few weeks, saying, well, what, you know, would you be comfortable going to the cinema these days, or would you be comfortable going to a football? I mean, Des, you said you went to the football the other week with, I mean, how many in the ground? 55,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're comfortable doing that. I'm not sure whether I would be at the moment. I don't know, but what it's knowing what you are comfortable in doing and not doing, isn't it?
I wasn't super comfortable doing it. I felt I really desperately wanted to go to the football match, so I was prepared to concede a little on my comfort level. And when I went in there, I noted that, you know, a small number of people were wearing masks, and I suspect they had specific reasons. 99% of people were not. And, you know, I was happy enough to put a mask on when I left the stadium, just going down crowded sort of escalators and stuff like that. I was very happy to wear a mask, as if quite a few people did. But as John said, the natural reaction is to think, well, it's outdoors and we know that's pretty safe. But actually, if you see what happened in Newquay at Broadmasters Festival, you know, a few weeks back, where just several thousand people apparently got COVID, you know, and they're all outdoors. So I don't think outdoors is absolutely safe when you've got people shouting at the top of their voices and propelling stuff all over the place. But I wanted to see the football, so I took the risk.
Yeah, no, it's well, hey, I mean, you've only got to look at you know, when you said, oh, I'm getting John Murray on because it's that time of the year again, and I thought, brilliant, we're going to talk about Strictly, but apparently that's not that
been wiped out.
You know, that wasn't the case. But apparently, you know, today it's been out, you know, so they've done the first show, and now at least one of the couples have both tested positive, and like then they're supposed to be on absolute super strict, you know, regular testing and rules, and all. So you just kind of go, well, you know, what hope have you got if COVID is getting it Strictly Come Dancing? I mean, there's
when the commissioners when some of them refusing to do something to get,
they're refusing to be vaccinated. I think some of the professional dancers, said they weren't prepared to do that. So, well, personally, I'd been, well, you won't get a contract then. You're not on the show if you're not prepared to have a vaccine.
Apparently, there were 3 professional dancers who didn't get on the show, didn't get picked. They had 3 more than required, and 3 of them didn't get on. So they could have gone to them.
Yeah, surely you pick the ones that the ones that you don't have on are the ones that aren't taking a vaccine. But I don't know. It's well, it does have this feeling. I mean, Des, you said this the other week. That it feels like, well, at some point you just got to get on with things, and okay, you might well get it at some point. You know, I mean, Des thought he had it earlier on in the year, and it was a dodgy bacon sandwich. That's all it was.
That's it. I've been very fortunate. So my daughter has had it, and I was at her birthday party. We didn't know she had it. So, you know, it's like, by grace of God, I haven't had it yet. I just think because of the jabs and because we're in a lot better place medically, you know, I mean, you're 99.9% going to get it and feel like you get a bad 48 hours or 3 or 4 days or whatever it might be, but, you know, it doesn't go beyond that in seriousness. That's by far and away the majority of cases, right? So I'm a little more there today than I was last year, because I just think we're better positioned to deal with it. And I think it's going to be around now. You know, one way or another, it's going to be around now. Whether we can make it any safer or not is questionable.
Seems to make a lot of sense to me.
And obviously, we're top of the league, so.
So from a football point of view, you're quite happy, aren't you? Really? Yes.
Yeah, it's very important to be top of the league in September.
cheeky beggar! Brilliant. Did you see what he did there, Lee? Trolled me.
Oh, absolutely love it. Yeah, that's great. It saves me having to say anything. So
compared to last season, John, it's like fantastico. Just to be anywhere.
It's going to be an interesting season. Actually, it's clearly there's going to be teams taking points off each other, and it's going to be a good good one to say the least. So, which is better than the Ryder Cup has gone this weekend for the European team. I haven't seen how the singles have gone because I couldn't bear to look, but I'm assuming America have won it back by a country mile. I'm gonna assume. What's your sporting interest, John? Are you particular things that you follow, or just general view?
Poker, I suppose.
Yeah, is that pretty? Yeah, as far as other sports go, mainstream sports not really much of an interest.
Yeah, not football. You know that.
Yeah.
The Olympics. I loved the Olympics. I loved all the kind of a lot of these events that we see very rarely. I mean, especially the climbing. Did you see the climbing?
Yeah, the speed climbing. Yeah, that was incredible.
Fantastic.
Wasn't
Loved it?
Yeah, some of those events that they brought in were so good. You know, trying to think about.
I thought the Olympics was I mean, what was your general take on it? Because obviously it was a whole thing of that the Japanese people, the Tokyo population, weren't even keen on it even taking place, and obviously it was delayed for a year, and then there was going to be no spectators in any of the venues. But I came away from it thinking it felt quite a successful Olympics. What was your take?
Yeah, it did seem a bit odd to some of the atmosphere sometimes, but they still had all the events, and people still ran the race and all the rest of it. And in some of the, not so much in the on the track, but in some of the other indoor arena events, that they kind of were filling in a few kind of trainers or coaches or whatever to make it seem a little bit like there were a few people there. And and they're a bit kind of in darkness and that anyway. So it didn't really seem to affect these basketball and what have you. I thought maybe it did for the players, but
I quite enjoyed the. Did you watch any of the 3-on-3 basketball?
Yeah,
I thought it was, again, it was just I don't know why when they brought that in they then still had normal basketball. I'd have just had the 3-on-3 because I thought that was good. It was much more enjoyable than the normal basketball. Normal basketball was a bit boring in comparison with that. I quite like that short game. 3, what is it, four in a squad, and you could swap one in and out, and I thought it was excellent to watch.
I quite like the is it ground ball or what do you call handball? Handball,
yeah.
Handball's massively popular in most of the rest of Europe, isn't it?
Yeah, the women's handball. I thought the Japanese team were so good. Like some of them, and in the basketball, some of them were really small. It's kind of, they had the American basketballers who were like, one of them was 6'9", and the others were all huge. I saw Japan playing France, and like they went through the French players, and they were women. Yeah, and there were 6'4", 6'4". The small one was 6'1". Yeah, the two small 6'1" and 6'2", 6'4", and then the Japanese, like the biggest one was like, I don't know, 6 foot. They had two who were 6 foot, and then they like some were 5'4", 5'4", 5'5". But they were really good. Yeah, I was hoping the Japanese would.
Did you see any of the baseball? Because obviously baseball is huge. Baseball is huge in Japan. Absolutely crazy for it. And again, it was such a shame that they had the venue there and everything, and they're playing baseball with basically no fans at all. It was a crying shame. Just the PLO's finished. Just to give a quick shout on that is David Dunbar from the UK beat Brendan. Brendan was down to about 2 bigs there at one point. So Brendan has settled for second place in that tonight. So we've final one of the night. We've got Ope is the Turbo Knockout, which is down to a final table of 7. And let's see who we've got there. Richard Rudling Smith. Richard R is Richard Rudling Smith, who's been a regular on the leaderboard. They're playing for $82 first and second prize, but obviously then the bounties on top of that. So you can normally double your money at least if you've had a good run on this. There's a couple of players there that seem to be okay. Aaron Granger has already got $15 on his head. Joe has got 10, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce.
Go on.
the player from
Tim
Russia.
Dancy. Yeah, well.
It'll be Bob or something like that. Is what it'll be, it's where we need Simon. Simon Lawler's normally good with this kind of thing.
Well, he's in the chat box. He's been trolling me about Liverpool being top of the league. He said until Monday, because ironically, if Brighton beat Crystal Palace,
Brighton having a great
in the South Coast Derby tomorrow, right? How are Crystal Palace in the South Coast Derby? But if they do, then Brighton would go top. Which is
don't call it the South. No, but they don't call it the South Coast.
No,
they call
don't.
it the what? John, what's the road that goes from Brighton straight up to London?
The A23, the M23.
The M23.
Is it the M20? So they call it the M23 Derby or something like that. It's got, but they hate each other. Yeah. Crystal Palace and Brighton, and you wouldn't have thought anybody from Brighton. They all seem such a nice, friendly, happy bunch that they actually would have any issues. But apparently, they really hate Crystal Palace fans.
I was living near Oxford for a while, and I discovered that Oxford and Swindon has got this hatred between them, which I never knew about.
Oh, really? The roundabout derby.
Oxford and Swindon. Swindon's the most average town in the country, isn't it? I think of all the kind of demographic statistics and things, apparently if you wanted to find the most balanced average place you could live, Swindon is it.
All right, let's go.
Nice. That's a tagline for the local tourism office.
Yeah, but obviously it is well known for the roundabouts, obviously, as well.
And so listen, the Olympics, did any of you guys watch the archery? Where the South Korean women, they won it first in 1988 when archery was first brought into the Olympics, and they've won it every single Olympic Games since.
Wow.
Well, that's pretty remarkable, is it not? Every single Olympics, and they won it again in Japan. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, that is quite impressive. I must admit, the athletics disappointed me a little bit. I don't know whether that was just they didn't feel like there were some big names. There was some incredible races. I mean, the Norwegian guy that won the 400, broke the world record. I mean, that was just a phenomenal performance. But it didn't feel. Maybe that's because it was the first Olympics without a Bolt. Without a couple of and like a Mo Farah and some of these really big names that have done gold after gold after gold. It lacked a little bit of that maybe in the track.
Yeah, because the 100 meters kind of didn't have the same feeling about it.
Yeah, it just felt a bit like okay, that's done. And as much as they killed the lights and they did a whole light show in order to try and make it just didn't feel like.
Whereas the women's 100 meters really did come in. They were breaking records. There was several of them who were way ahead of previous. I think they're only just short of Flojo's record now.
I think what killed it a bit for me, the whole athletics piece, was personally the relative inability to watch it live. So a lot of prime events were being ran in the middle of the night. Couldn't watch them, and for me, part of this is you watch the heats, the qualifiers and stuff, so you get to just look at people coming through, and then you have the big finals. Wasn't really able to do any of that, and I couldn't quite figure whether I should be watching this on the channel 4. Where the hell was it? The BBC or on Eurosport or on Discovery. I couldn't quite align where the hell I should be watching it, and then I ended up just watching finals that I saw advertised a couple hours earlier that featured either big Irish or big British interest. But I lost the watching it live feeling. That was unfortunate, I think. But Paris, of course, would be completely different.
Yeah. What's a successful Olympics for like the Irish? But generally, what's the hope?
Swimming pool.
Because obviously, I mean, it's very easy to get caught up in Team GB and the lottery funding, and they always talk about the financing and the expectations of winning this and winning this and winning this. But it didn't used to be like that. But back in the day, if you won a few medals, you were quite happy. So what does a country like Ireland, when they come into an Olympics, what's their expectation of their athletes?
Well, I think, my view, I think this was an extremely successful Olympics for the Irish. I think we won 2 gold. in the rowing and stuff like that. I think we won a couple of other medals on top. Plus, there was a girl named Hohi who won a medal or two for the Hong Kong team, and she was, Irish in her background. There was a girl called Duffy who won a medal for Trinidad and Tobago in the triathlon or something. We claimed her as well. So actually, seriously, this is what we do. It was a pretty good Olympics for the Irish, but we're going to be glorifying one or two medals generally.
2 gold medals was a big success. We got a gold medal in the women's boxing, didn't we?
Yeah, she was magnificent. I watched both of the Irish wins. Were there were big events. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever. Set your alarm clock, get up for them. I saw both of them because they were quite big for Ireland. It's unlike Britain where you're going to win a raft of medals and they just come along like buses. So you do enjoy them, but yeah, I mean, 4 medals I think was a pretty good haul this time round.
It's actually quite funny that we talk about the financing of Team GB. It's obviously there's a lot of hoo-ha at the moment. I saw this weekend. I think is it Bolton Wanderers that have pulled all of their sports betting from their stadium and stuff. And so obviously it's a big thing about sports betting and sponsoring and is it good for sport, and is it bad, and removing them from the advertising of from whistle to whistle, isn't it, and all that kind of thing. And then you look and go, okay, we got the Olympics and it's Team GB, and you go, right, so how's Team GB funded? Well, that'll be the national lottery then, which is basically gambling. Just in a guise that's kind of okay because you're having a gamble on something that's for a good cause, and so it's considered to be okay. It's a really weird anomaly that we think that that's all an okay thing, but effectively I think I'm guessing that is the national lottery would that be the biggest form of gambling in the UK week on week? I've no idea what numbers
probably
wise.
Not a million miles away. It's certainly the widest form of gambling. It would have the most variance in people who take part.
Yeah, but it seems to not have anything like the level of scrutiny and regulation that some of the other forms do and other brands have to deal with. And it's given this spin of, but it's for a good cause. So you're raising all this money for good causes and supporting Team GB and everything. And it's like, well, yeah, it doesn't quite work like that, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't have the kind of black mark against you, whatever, that other form of gambling would have.
In fairness, though, if you talk about problem gamblers, the lottery isn't something that you could smash 200 quid on. I mean, you're unlikely to walk into a filling station and ask for 200 scratch cards, and it's a less high octane.
Yes, there are people that are just doing the scratch, literally scratch cards after scratch cards. And there's no limit. You can't, there's nothing to say if they, you can't stop serving them. And of course, and that's all online as well now.
Yeah.
Maybe in what you do, it's right. I find the whole thing quite. I think the was it the Euro Millions on Friday night was 100 million or something first prize. I mean that's just obscene to be dangling that.
When there's a huge first prize and people buy more tickets than they usually.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they.
I would have thought that's the time not to buy the ticket, because if everybody else is buying, it's 100 million more than 20 million, because 20 million is an unbelievable amount that I'm never going to spend anyway. So having double that is the same basically to me.
Well,
I'll tell you what makes me laugh. I'll tell you what makes me laugh is the poker players are brilliant at this. It's they'll all moan about the rake, won't they? It's more than 10%. It's not this, it's not this. Yeah, for years. I mean, they all moan about that. But I bet a lot of them do the lottery. Have they ever looked to see what the prize payout is of their lottery ticket compared to what they're paying for it? Because effectively the rake, or what's going to good causes and admin and everything else, is like over 50%. It's the return to players on the lottery is probably worse than any. What's the percentage of the house benefit of like a roulette spin?
Oh,
because they basically, is it what the percentage is? Is it?
There's a 1 out of
they got
36.
98%, something like that.
Yeah.
Gets returned to players.
Yeah. So, but on the lottery, it's like less than 50%.
Yeah, that's insane. It's insane.
No, it's absolutely, it's no logic to it.
Do you think though that a lot of poker players play the lottery?
I'd imagine a lot of people do. Yeah.
It's a really interesting question. I'd never considered that before, but I'd
imagine
I'd be surprised.
Well, I'll tell you what's really weird. So Jen and I have played the same lottery number, and this is the hook that you get into. So
dear God.
We played the same lottery numbers probably since the lottery started 25 years ago.
And are you scared not to in case they come up next time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so we used to play. We used to play. I think I used to play two lines on a Saturday. This is back when I was a student. So, and I had the same two, and I used to put it on every Saturday, £2 a week, and then of course they then did a midweek draw or whatever. Well, you're like, well, what if your numbers come in on the midweek one and you only do it on a Saturday? I mean, like, you're never gonna, And I tell you now, my one bit of advice to anybody that wants to start doing the lottery, if you want to start doing the lottery,
don't pick favorite numbers.
Don't pick numbers.
You got a system, Lee. Apart from that,
lucky dip. Don't pick numbers that you can remember, because it's the worst thing you could do. So then Jen and I got together, third year of uni. She used to do 2 numbers, as I didn't know at the time. So we're like, well, also we got 4 numbers each now, right? So 4 numbers each twice a week, and it's now on a direct debit. and we justify it on the basis of, well, it's just basically it's like giving to charity, isn't it? Really?
Oh no!
Well, it is. You can thank you can thank John Major for all these gold medals.
I'll tell you what. During the Olympics, John, if we're watching a bit of and one of the British players is not and comes on afterwards, we are like, that's our money. What are you doing? You've got yourself out to Tokyo on the back of our lottery money. You bloody better perform.
I'll tell you guys, it is one of my favorite sad pastimes when I'm in Vegas. You're in a casino, you're walking through the roulette pit or whatever, and you'll see on one of those scoreboards, number boards, there's been 7 or 8 blacks in a row. Right, 7 blacks in a row. I will stop at that, right? I will stop, not to get involved, but just to watch, because people will just be walking up that aisle. They'll see 7 or 8 blacks in a row, and they will stop. $100 on red, right? Black again. Yeah, brilliant. $300 on red. Black again. Oh my Christ! Have you got any? Can I just borrow? I mean, it's 50-50 every time. Well, it's less than 50-50 every time.
I'll tell you. Last night, I caught the end of the boxing last night. I don't know whether you saw the fight or you were into your boxing, but so Anthony Joshua. It was on Sky Box Office or whatever, so I don't pay for that. But it was on TalkSport. I thought TalkSport had been advertising about it for a lot. So I thought, well, I was doing, I think, the poker admin last night. So I was like, oh well, I'll just stick it on TalkSport and listen to the fight. And it must have been the end of round 9 or round 10, and they're talking about this other guy. He's like, he can't lose this. They reckon he's ahead on points. I was like, oh crikey, that's mad, because AJ was the favourite. So I went on to Sky Bet and just had a quick look and just, well, what sort of odds? And you could get better than evens on this guy to win in play, and you could get better than evens on him to win by points in play. When it didn't sound like anyone, the only way this was going to be anything, it was if AJ knocked him out, but it sounded like he was dead on his feet. So, well, that's a bit mad, right? We'll have a bit of money on both of those. Listen to the rest of the, and it just rolled through. I think whoever was doing the in-play betting on got it very, very badly wrong with 2 rounds to go. Yeah. It's one on both of them.
What did you get? What odds? 1.2, 1 point. What were you getting?
So it was it was 2.3. So basically
you're getting 2.3 Usyk for the last 2 rounds.
With 2 rounds to go to win the fight.
What? That sounds mad.
Yeah.
Because I listened to a bit on radio as well, and they were absolutely, saw a few tweets. Everybody was saying the same thing. There's just no way, unless there's dodgy judges. No way.
And exactly. It was absolutely nuts. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I saw the odds. Wow. I was like, this can't be right. Let me just double check what it was.
No lucky socks, though.
No, definitely not lucky socks. Settle bets from last night. Yeah. So I had him to win the fight outright at 2.25. So that's just a little bit better than evens. Yeah. And I had him to win on points at 2.38. And I had both of those bets on with 2 rounds to go.
Nice.
Just nuts. It reminded me of the election before last, where whoever was doing the betting overnight, because we stayed up all night for the election, was so far behind on what was going on. I made a lot of money that night.
Or it's like the last US presidential election.
Just ridiculous. Yeah.
The Trump-Biden election, when everybody, people knew that Trump would go ahead initially and then Biden would come in. And, people after a while, when that happened, when Trump was ahead, people were kind of calling up, kind of saying, oh, Trump's winning, whatever. And the odds were wrong. Had the odds wrong during the night.
But if they've got the wrong people running the sports book there, wherever they're doing it, that doesn't know, really understand it, especially on these things like political betting, in play, seriously, if you kind of know how these things materialize and come together, as you say, John, that they said all along that was going to be the case. It was going to be up to start with and then drop off. Yeah, you just bet in play on it. It's incredible. But happily, obviously AJ could have knocked him out in the last 2 rounds, and there is that possibility. But I got the impression from listening to that wasn't going to be the case, and it wasn't even close to doing it. In fact, he probably won. Usyk probably won the last 2 rounds comfortably as well. So he's done, isn't he, AJ? No.
Well, his only option is to have another go at the same guy and see if he can turn it over. Because
but my understanding, I'd been listening on the radio the day before, and they said if he tries to outbox this guy, he won't be able to because he's a better boxer than him. So it's now a case of you're now going up against a guy. You've got no surprise here. He knows he's a better boxer than you. So the only way you're going to outbeat him is outmuscle him, with size wise. And he decided to tone down to try and he tried to box him, and he just wasn't going to do it. The guy's much better boxer. Everyone said so. I'm not a huge boxing fan, but it was clearly obvious that was the case, and he got himself shown up for what it is. But I mean, he's made his money. But at what point do you think he just says, "Oh well, I've left a legacy. I've made my money. I'm done."
Well, he'll make a lot more money for a rematch, I think. So
it's funny.
How much money do they need? Because they make big money out of these fights, John. Do they? Would you want to end up like a Mike Tyson or a Frank Bruno, where medically, because of what you've done as a career, you've just you get into old age and you're not in a good way? Or do you think that the boxers coming through now are aware of that and it isn't as much of a thing?
Well, I mean, I don't know, but I think they don't make as much money as it's claimed they make, because they have a lot of expenses. They got to travel and support how many people out of that money, and pay for a training camp for a couple of months, and how many sparring partners and coaches and whatever have all got to be paid out of it. So when they say he earned this amount, that there's a lot comes out of it.
Yeah.
But
they say the tennis players probably do because their costs are probably lower than a lot of other sports stars. So I think Federer was was always at the top of the kind of earnings for sports people, which is surprised because you'd assume someone like a Lewis Hamilton or whatever must be on ridiculous, but I guess that pales into compared to what some of the basketball players and NFL players are on. I mean, I don't know if you know much how much Hamilton earn a year, Des? You must have a rough idea.
I used to say around 40 million, something like that. It's pretty chunky.
But as you say, John, you kind of go, well, how much money is enough money before it's
Yeah, I don't know how much. What's the answer, Lee? How much money is enough money?
I don't know. I mean, how much would you, if you said now I'm not going to work for the rest of your life, how much money do you need?
Yeah,
to see yourself through. No idea.
I don't know what the answer is to that.
Would it be the fact that the more money you had, the more your lifestyle, changes as to what you do. But say your lifestyle was as you are now. How much money would you need now to retire tonight and say, right, I could live comfortably for the rest of my life, whatever, however long that might be. Let's assume you live in your 90s, which is not an unrealistic kind of thing. I mean, how much do you reckon you need?
If you don't have to pay a mortgage and that, I mean, then what do you need then?
Still be a chunky sum.
A year?
You probably need more than that.
More?
Yeah. You're probably going to need 3 or 4, 5 million. I mean, it all adds up pretty quickly.
Des is eyeing up that Ferrari finally. That's what he's thinking about.
If I had cash coming out of my bottom, I wouldn't buy a Ferrari. I have no idea who said that. I do, but
it was on Blonde Poker, wasn't it? I think
not me. Not me. No interest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it is a weird. We do tie up. We have this thing of buying property, isn't it? And you tend to end up tying up. What's it they say? Roughly, if you buy a house on a mortgage, the lifetime of that mortgage, you end up paying twice as much for the house over the life of paying the mortgage off, don't you? Pretty much as a rough number, which is quite a it's a scary thought, isn't it? As we're in Europe, I remember having a German boss. That was I think we were buying maybe our second or moving house second time or something like that when I was sort of 15 years ago now, 15, 20 years ago, and he was just gobsmacked that, why are you buying a house at your age? Like, it's like just in say a lot of Europe, it's not a done thing. They all rent.
Yeah.
Well, is Ireland the same as the UK, or is Ireland more like Europe? Is there a lot more renting going on?
It's similar to the UK.
Yeah.
I don't know. In the West, there's probably some of these small holdings and things, but
well, I think it's like everywhere else. It depends on the circumstances, right? So if I look at my little town, right on the Atlantic coast, properties were extremely expensive. So youngsters certainly couldn't be expected to come out of uni and buy a home. They might have ambitions to do so, but inevitably you'd have to move away. You'd have to move inland because those houses were not too distant from London prices. Mad, but c'est la vie. You're living on the Atlantic coast. It's a beautiful part of the world. So I think, conditions. I think they'd have wanted to have owned homes and bought homes, but circumstances would dictate.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? It's this kind of this feeling, this need to kind of accumulate. I'm not quite sure, 100% sure what for or what purpose that has in the long run, but we seem to like to do that for whatever reason.
Let's bring back communism. We're gonna move from petrol propaganda to communism. Let's bring back communism. Right, Lee, how much have you got, and what is that 3 ways? Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, I've got more than I did have last night after the boxing bet, so we're good. Yeah, we should be all right. We just lost Rudders in 6th place. Mr. Ruddling Smith has just departed, so we're down to 5 now.
I just said, so you're talking about the money there. Some of the poker prizes are huge. I know so the players don't always have 100% of themselves,
but actually, John, so interesting was to take the main event over the World Series. I mean, how many of last time it was live, there was 8,000 runners?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
How many of those 8,000 have 100% got all of themselves?
God knows.
But I mean, would you say half of them are staked or have sold action, or do you think less than that?
I would have thought that.
My gut feeling was it probably is at least half. I would say probably haven't got 100%. What's your view, Des?
Yeah, probably, almost certainly. I think it's absolutely part of the language today, isn't it? I listened to an interview with Rob Young on something recently, and he was, it was all about staking this and staking that. It's pretty much the done thing, really.
Even players who are winning seats in then start selling bits off of that.
Yeah.
Well, if you win a package and sell half of it off at 1.2, 1.3 or whatever, that can, if you know, that's your expenses covered, isn't it?
Well, it's quite smart, and I think a lot of poker players are quite smart. I mean, it's quite an astute way to manage your variance, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, LPPL is sponsoring a player into the main event next time.
Sponsoring a player, paying is 10 grand.
Winning, they'll win an entry. Not sponsoring. It comes from entry fees.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's not an unusual thing.
Yeah.
You should get you in there, Des. I'd be
yeah, I'd be a good bet. I would be a good bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've been to a main event final table, haven't you?
I have. Yeah, I have.
I've seen the photo and everything. Yeah,
I was on the I was in card player and everything. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Crikey, we've just a couple of exits busting out quite quickly here. We're down to this heads up already. The turbo one always tends to go like that. I'm desperately trying to just get these last exits in, so I'll be able to tell you who's top of the leaderboard at the end of the week.
Oh, sorry to see Lenka going. It seemed, I don't know, it just seemed a cool name, Lenka.
Ah, Lenka from the Czech Republic. Yeah. Lenka Husarova.
It sounds like
we get such a mix of players in these APAT games. It's nice to still see the regular APAT players that we know, but it's just been amazing watching players from all over the world getting involved in APAT games in the past 18 months during lockdown. It's just amazing.
Mm. And you had World Series runner-up playing APAT.
Mr. Stadsko.
Yes.
That's right. We did. That gave us weeks of entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, we just turn up and play APAT games. I mean, just like, what's that all about?
Not just once. He played.
Oh yeah,
he played quite a few. Yeah, he played quite a few.
Yeah. And the great thing was, I don't think he ran deep that often, to be honest.
Well, he wasn't great. He wasn't great.
He really struggled to cope with the pressure of playing APAT games.
They had to send him the responsible gambling email,
Just like, look, don't chase your losses. It's not worth it.
Did he win a medal? It was a shame if he didn't win a medal.
No, I know. I so wanted to send him a medal, but he did. I don't think he ever got close to a medal.
It's not easy, John. You would know this. I mean, you've won a few in your day. It takes some, some game to win an APAT medal, and Mr. S.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't at that level.
It's not anything that any old series runner-up could do.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It's been quite a surreal. The whole lockdown thing. I mean, Des and I say this on a regular basis. Just some of the other stuff. Obviously, it's been great fun doing the APAT show and doing what we've done, online, as we do have a winner there. But also some of the other shows we've got to do, where I've been sat of an evening doing the orbit, and you're sat with Phil Hellmuth or Daniel Negreanu or whoever it might be, and you're sat in the background listening to these guys talking as we're recording these shows, and I'm thinking, how have we ended up here? Someone explained to me how. There was a couple of months back, I think I had Daniel. It was Phil Hellmuth retweeted one of my tweets, and I'm thinking, wow, this just seems unreal. How exactly did this happen?
I think we need to get them to promote the APAT show, Lee. That's what we need to move them on to now.
That's what they're missing out on. They're missing out on the Sunday night chat and banter.
Well, seeing as how you're mates with Helmut and Negreanu and all that. I mean, firstly, you could find out what their schedule. Well, I know Negreanu's.
Well, I know what Negreanu's is. Yeah, he's happily posted that for the entire.
But also, you could ask them if they fancy entering a team in the competition. And they can send their £10 on the link.
Yeah, I don't think Negreanu buys into fantasy poker at the level you're offering, John. £10 might be a bit too rich.
Yeah, but he does like his fantasy sports stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Some of those players, I played in the World Series before. I played in the World Series before, Barry Greenstein was on my table, and he just spent the whole time he was watching basketball or something. It's just sports betting the whole time. He kind of is hardly interested in the poker.
No, that's often the case.
I'm sure he was signing a few books as well, right? That was a big thing for Barry back in the day.
He gave up though, didn't he? It got to be a bit too much of it.
I would imagine.
At that stage. Yeah.
Well, listen, guys, we have reached a natural conclusion point. Okay,
we have.
End of the week.
If you just want to bring the table back up for a second,
I can do that.
I can run through the leaderboard for the week. So Artem Nikonov ended up getting ahead of both of the Ilfracombe massive lads with 4 cashes in the week. He's on step 1, Des. So it's 3 lots of $5.50 tickets. We're happy with that. Yanni Ilfracombe's best number 1 player. I'll be seeing him on the golf course maybe at the weekend, the mini golf anyway. So he had 4 cashes as well. He finishes in second, picks up 2 lots of $11 tickets. Ben Bundy from the UK, he's only on step 1, but he picks up 2 tickets with 3 cashes this week. The young whippersnapper Brendan Byrne,
there he is
with a cash, finishing second in the PLO tonight. That gets him up into 4th place. He's at step 4. So Brendan's going to cost us 2 lots of $33 tickets this week, but well done to him. Alexander Costa from Brazil, a couple of cashes this week. He's going to pick up 2 lots of $5.50 tickets. So a few other mentions. Tony Ross ends up in the top 20 again, so he'll pick up $55. Richard Rudling Smith, 3 cashes this week. He'll pick up a ticket as well. And Matty Ogilvie just quietly goes about his business. It's been in the top 20 now for feels like 5 or 6 weeks on the bounce from Canada. So Matty's going to pick up another $55 ticket for his.
Fantastic.
And Naz has made top 20 again. So he's gone. Next week he'll be on step 3. So again, quietly just pops in on a Sunday night, wins the main event, picks up a ticket, moves up a step. Simple as that.
Top played. It's as easy as that, guys. Come along, cash. Make the leaderboard, you get prizes, right? Free prizes, added value, happy days. John, thank you a bunch, sir, for joining us tonight. Sure. Best luck to you and Carl once Thursday comes around with, the entries, and then for the pile of work. I mean, it's a ton of work that you do between now and the end of the World Series just to keep everybody updated in terms of the competition. So good luck with that. Sorry, John, say again.
I say it's going to be great. The series is going to be great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I have to say. I have to say. All right. So thanks to everybody who played with us this week. Good luck next week, guys. Lee and I will be back again on Sunday night. We'll do this all over again. And between now and then, we hope you have a great week. Okay?
Have a good one, guys.
Cheerio.
Ciao.